Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Taste of Reality. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing Married at First Sight Australia, Season 9, Episode something. Episode something. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. I don't know about y'all, but for me, this episode was kind of like a snooze fest, so I didn't write too many notes. However, I'm just gonna pick things that I felt like stood out to me and then just flesh them out because episode was kind of long, okay? So this week they're doing reflections week. So it's looking back on their first impressions of each other and then also giving each other constructive criticism, like from couple to couple, and also a task to help work on those problem points in their relationship. So maybe let me start with the negative couples. With Selena and Cody. Looking back at their initial first impressions, Selena is realizing that the pessimism that Cody has, the lack of interest that's been a narrative throughout their marriage, started from day one.
I'm not discouraged that the initial attraction wasn't as, it's still there, but it's not quite as much as I would have liked. She was so happy, so energetic. At the moment, I think she seems so ecstatic, and I'm like, yeah, I'm great, but I'm not that great.
I have been on the receiving end of people who are subscribed to me, who tell me I'm too positive. So I get it. It can be off-putting for some people, but honestly, maybe you're just too negative. I get what Cody was saying in that, it can be overwhelming. But man, that man really, he really sold himself when he was like, oh, it's like she's, what was the word? Mesmerized by me? Cody, don't say that.
Because apparently I was giving off desperate vibes from the beginning.
Desperate. You just
desperate vibes from the beginning, and you were like, oh my God. What was the word that you used?
Mesmerized? Is that what you're
Oh my gosh, she was like, mesmerized by me.
Throughout the season, I've kind of seen that Selena has been a lot more all for the process when it comes to Cody than Cody has been for her. And I can't necessarily pinpoint whether it's the attraction thing, whether it is the Asian thing, like they said, whether it's he's just a pessimist by nature, whether it's he's just not ready for marriage. I don't know what it is. But the reality is, Cody, I feel like if he hasn't evolved through this process, he's going to have an issue regardless of who he partners with, because some level of optimism needs to be present for relationships to thrive. You know what I mean? Some level of affection, and not affection that's, in response to something negative, like he buys her flowers when he did something wrong, or he hugs her after she threw a fit about it.
This is when you need to hug me now.
I don't think it's good enough.
Like actually unprompted, you just do it. All that stuff is gonna have to be in place in order to make any relationship work with anyone. So yeah, Selena might not be his girl. I highly doubt that they'll be together in the long run. If they are, that's great. But moving from this, I think there's things that he could take from Selena. And it sucks that she had to go through this roller coaster of a relationship with Cody. But yeah, Cody was never in it from the beginning. I don't think he'll be in it in the end either. Brent and Tamara also had kind of a rocky-ish beginning, but that was kind of a given. Like, they clearly were bumping heads from the start. There was no faking it. They just weren't getting along.
I worry that he might like me more than I like him. He doesn't appear to be what I hoped for. He's a little bit shorter than I expected, to be honest. He is short for a guy.
The good thing is that they've been able to kind of find humor in their relationship. They have similar banter whenever they're not fighting. But the theme of Tamara being not as into Brent as he is into her is something that she said in the beginning. And maybe that's something that she never got over. I feel like because we're hearing it now, after they've already consummated the marriage, after they've, had really good days, it kind of sounds like, dang, where's this coming from? Is she getting cold feet? But maybe she actually never got over it from day one. I don't think Brent was ever like, oh, I'm super in love with this girl. Like, he wasn't giving, what was that guy? the guy who was matched with Kate, Matt. It wasn't like Matt where he was just so full on, just very touchy, very verbally affirming, and it clearly wasn't being reciprocated. I just think Brent was the type of person to want to give it a proper try. And if you look at Tamara and you look at her characteristics, he was like, I can see it working with this person. Unfortunately, Tamara saw that as like, he's way too into me. And it's like, no, girl, he's just hopeful. Are you hopeful at all? Clearly not. I'm going to talk about Ella and Mitch now because they wrote letters to each other, Ella and Mitch and Tamara and Brent. So with Ella and Mitch's first impressions, obviously, you know, they were very enamored by each other's physical appearance. And that hasn't seemed to change throughout. But as we've seen in the process, Ella has become very insecure. And to me, I didn't think that she was an insecure kind of person. But it seems like Mitch just, I don't know what the problem is with Mitch, because sometimes it's like he brings up his past with these, you know, amazing, hot, super sexy girls, which makes Ella insecure. But then also like he doesn't want to think about the future with Ella, which also makes Ella insecure. And then he doesn't want to move, which makes Ella insecure. He doesn't want to give the process a chance, which makes Ella insecure. I just feel like, girl, aren't these enough reasons for you to just stop trying? At least in the process. I know they don't make it in the long run, but at least in the process, I would have been like, okay, it's about time to cut it. So Tamara and Brent write a letter to them, and they do pinpoint that Ella has become very self-conscious in this relationship. And maybe to build trust, the two should look through each other's phones for 5 minutes. Immediately, Mitch is like, I don't need to look through your phone, but if you need to look through mine, that's cool. And she comes across a folder that may have some incriminating photos.
Look,
ex-partners?
you're not going to get into the photo vault, so...
Do you have photos of your ex-partners on here? Okay, oh, that's a bit weird.
So he didn't come right out and say that he has ex's nudes in there. But the way that he danced around it, I'm like, that's definitely what it is. Why do you have that? If there are any men who are watching this, please make this make sense to me. Or women who keep ex's nudes, I would like to know what's the purpose. Is it like you already know that person gets you off, so you just... But then if you're in a relationship, why would you need an old person who you know could get... That's so weird to me. That's so weird. I don't see the point in keeping ex's nudes. And then also for him to be so guarded about it didn't help the whole insecurity thing with Ella. And with Ella, I'm looking at her like, babe, if you can't trust this man in your presence, you really think you can trust him in your absence? And like, in your own home turf, like he's going back to his comfortable place. Maybe one of the girls in that folder is going to be knocking on his door one day. You can't trust him and he's sitting right beside you and you want to try long distance relationship? I don't think that's a good idea. The next first impression videos are Olivia and Jack, who have been very complimentary of each other since, you know, the very beginning. And not Tamara, what's her name? Dominica and Jack also had very good things to say about each other. And so they were given a task to write letters to each other. So with Olivia and Jackson, I was actually impressed. I was very impressed with their letter writing. Basically what they said was, we've seen that Jack doesn't really get his needs met in this relationship. And the task that we're giving is for him to verbally express what he needs or wants from Dominica. And I think the task went very well.
I need to feel the affection I show to you reciprocated. I need the positives spoken about, the little or big things I do for you /us. I need to know that we will have a clear path to our next steps as a couple at the end of this experiment. All right?
Yeah.
You good with that?
I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to give you what you've needed.
Olivia at first was making it seem like she wanted to be crass, but she wasn't. And she didn't want to entertain the activity at all, but she did. And I think, honestly, they wrote a very good letter, and it had some good insights on Dominica and Jack's side, because it really reminded Dominica that she needs to be cognizant of Jack's feelings and Jack's needs and wants in a relationship, because this girl, it's like, how can you please me, please me, please me, please me, please me, please me? And it's like, you're in a partnership. He needs to be pleased too. So when it came for them to write a letter to Olivia and Jackson, they were calling them out on being codependent, and Olivia was like, you've got to be joking.
We believe that you are exhibiting signs of codependency. In You're right.
Now, to me, do I agree? I guess I agree, because if ever he was shown doing something that she didn't like, she would have an attitude. She had even told him, you know, I'm your whole world now. I didn't sign up for a 2-day husband. I signed up for a 7-day husband. Like, girl, all he was doing was going to work and going to work out. That he's not stepping out on you. He's not splitting his time between you and another woman. Relax. So the task that Dom and Jack gave to Olivia and Jackson was to spend 24 hours apart. And Jackson is like, oh, this is great. I can watch my programs. I can go to the gym. He's excited.
This time spent apart was good. You know, I got to go to the gym, got to relax, enjoy myself, just have a bit of me time. I think it's very important in every relationship to have a bit of your own time.
Listen, if I had time away from a psychopath, I would be excited too. So with Olivia, at first she's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not codependent. You know, we're going to be fine. But the next day, she literally looks like a shell of a woman. Like, this low-key scared me.
We're more than capable of spending a night apart. You know, I reckon she would have been okay.
How are you today, Olivia?
Jackson was taken from me.
I don't know why Jackson is not seeing the signs. One of y'all can tell me if the rumor was true or not, that they're actually still together. It could be for publicity, or it could be for, you know, keeping the narrative alive so that they don't give spoilers for how the season ends. But at every turn, you're seeing signs to run. And you are still here. And it does not make sense to me. I feel like if they were to go home and really live together.
Can you stop? That's really mean. Could we finish now? He's married. He's got to grow up and stop doing that sort of shit. Yeah, I'm a petty bitch. Dead set.
Nah. I ran like every scenario in my head just then, and it all ends in misery for Jackson. Unless he really is a simp and he's just okay with that. That would be very unfortunate. But yeah, that's all I had. Like I said, episode wasn't really giving me much, so I was kind of milking this episode. But if you saw some other things in the episode that you would like to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. As always, like and subscribe and share. And I forgot how my outro goes, so I will just see you in the next one.